weird, so yeah, I still have to come up with a better name. Expanding it and including this one. I've heard about it from I actually wanted to make a sweater looking like this cup. Hi everyone and welcome to my knitting podcast. My name is Katerina and I'm the designer behind Wilderness Knits, and this is my knitting podcast. Today I want to talk about a couple of things, a couple of designs that I have in progress and some of my other knitting whips, and also I want to show you some of the sweaters that my mom recently made for my daughter, which I think are really cute. And also I want to talk about some books that I'm currently reading. Some of them are knitting related, some of them not, but I think they're still really interesting. And also I was thinking about showing you some of my most favorite knitting books. So yeah, it's a pretty packed episode, and if it's not too long, then I will also add a short video showing you my trip to Virginia at the end of this podcast. So hope you can take a seat and enjoy some kind of warm or cold beverage of your choice, and yeah, let's get down to it. Please excuse any noise in the background. I currently have the fan on in here because it's extremely hot in upstate New York right now. We went from really cold temperatures for 6 months into basically summer temperatures. So the spring is always very short around here, and right now we have almost 100 degrees out. That's in Fahrenheit. In Celsius, that's roughly around 36 degrees, something like that. So yeah, it's tropical temperatures. Plus in here we also have very high humidity, which makes it even worse. So not only it's really hot, but we also have tons of bugs around here. So I'm mostly staying indoors. Well, I hope that wherever you are, it's a little better. So the first thing I want to talk about are my designs in progress. So right now, actually the design that you see behind me, that's called the Fairbloom Cardigan, and it's currently in testing. There are still some slots open, so actually if you're interested in testing this cardigan, then you can head to Ravelry, and there's a discussion group called Wilderness Knits where you can sign up for this test knit, or actually you can also ask me to add you to my earn burn list, and next time there's a new test knit I will notify you on Ravelry, and then you can sign up. So yeah, and you can also knit this as a pullover. It doesn't have to be a cardigan, and the pattern also includes instructions for longer sleeves as well as longer body. So you also don't have to knit it as a cropped cardigan like it is in here. And I actually encourage some of my test knitters to choose some kind of fall colors or winter colors, because I would like to release this in the fall. But I think that this design works well for any season because, first of all, there's the two versions. One is cropped, one is long. But also I think that this pattern, which was inspired by rose petals, could also be, if you change the colors, it could also be maybe kind of like fall leaves, foliage. So you could, for example, change this into some kind of orange and have kind of like a darker brown on the edges, and you could have the little birds black, and they could be crows, which is more like Halloween theme, yeah, and you could use, again, brown colors here. So yeah, you could kind of play around with the colors of the design to make it suited for whatever season you want to wear it in, or you could make it more universal and choose more neutral colors, or for the winter you could choose kind of like the blues and whites. Yeah, so there's no limits to your imagination and creativity, right? So I'm really excited to see how this test will go, and I will keep you posted. But yeah, like I said, the pattern will probably be released in September or maybe October. depending on how busy I am. So the next design I have in progress is the deep sea sweater. I did talk about this one before, and I even tried it on, I think in episode 1 of my knitting podcast. Yeah. So yeah, it's been in progress for a while, but that's okay. I'm not in a rush or anything. So it's this pullover. It has a turtleneck and it has these kind of brioche sleeves. And I'm not gonna talk about it in detail because I already did in my previous episode, but it's more of a cold weather garment, so I'm not in a rush to release this pattern, but I will try to finish up the pattern instructions and get this ready for test knitting, and hopefully I will start the test either in June or early July. So if you're interested in testing this, then yeah, follow me on Instagram and you will see a post where I will be announcing the test knit. So that's that one. And then I have a third item, which is relatively new. I worked on this when my mom was visiting. I am originally from the Czech Republic, and my mom came to visit for 2 months to help with my daughter, who is now she's around like 1.5, a little less than 1.5 year old, and that gave me a little extra time to work on my parents because until recently I worked full-time in digital marketing. About a couple of weeks ago I actually started to work part-time for many different reasons, mostly for my own sanity, because working full-time and taking care of a toddler at the same time is tough. It's tough to take care of a toddler even if you're not working. So yeah, I have no idea how I did it for so long, to be honest, but you know, that's what life is in America. we don't have free daycare, so you either have to spend a lot of money on daycare or you have to find other ways of managing. And since I'm working remote, I was lucky enough to be able to kind of do both, yeah, for a while, but not anymore. So this design that I have in my hands doesn't actually have a name yet. I call it Sofie's top-down sweater. Sofie is my daughter. So and this was knitted top down. So yeah, I'm probably gonna change the name. This is as you can see, there's brioche stitches in here as well, so I guess I've been on kind of a brioche roll, I don't know, but it's this top-down sweater. In the back there's this little button, so you can kind of unbutton that, and that creates a wider opening for the head, because babies' heads are a little like bigger when compared to their body. Disproportionate is the same, is something that you could say, but basically you need a big opening for the head, while also, because you don't want the sweater to fall off their shoulders, so you kind of need to find a way to make the hole bigger and at the same time not slide down. So that's why there's this little opening with the button, and then I also made the sleeves longer, and this way the sweater can fit longer, because you know, babies grow fast, so this is actually a great way to extend the life of this toddler sweater. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it, but I haven't had a chance to try it on my daughter because I needed size 2 so that's still quite a bit bigger than she is right now, and she does not want a sweater on her right now, which I can't blame her. I mean, this is really warm because I made this with a blend of alpaca and wool, my own yarn, Wilderness Baby Soft yarn. You can purchase this yarn on my website, wildernessknits.com. It's locally sourced, locally made yarn, completely traceable to how it was made, how it was sourced. I could probably tell you the farms where it was, where the sheep are, romping around. So yeah, I'm actually really happy with how this worked out. So far it's not pilling, but it's also not getting any wear yet, so that makes sense. But it's really soft, it's super warm, and it creates a really nice texture. This is the natural color, which it's actually not the alpaca that gave it this kind of pebble color. It's the cormo wool that's in this. So that's really interesting because I actually, I thought that the color was coming from the baby alpaca, but no, it's the cormo wool. I don't know, maybe it's not that interesting, but I thought it was interesting. So the sweater actually reminds me of tree bark, but I'm probably not gonna call it the bark sweater. It just sounds weird. So yeah, I still have to come up with a better name than Sofie's top-down sweater and the bark sweater. If you have any great idea, you can let me know in the comments. I would really appreciate it. A month ago, my mom came from the Czech Republic. I'm originally from Europe, and while she was here, she's very creative. That's where I got that from. She was working on a couple of sweaters for my daughter, so I want to share those with you as well. She designs her own knitwear as well. She doesn't publish any of her own patterns. She just prefers to knit freeform, I think it's the word. So she just kind of comes up with her own pattern as she's working on it. So this is the cute sweater that she made for my daughter. It has these little kind of bell sleeves. Well, it's not really a bell, it's more like a... can't remember the word now. But they're like kind of wider at the end. And she did not only knit this, but she also embroidered these little flowers at the top, which I think are so cute. But she spent so much time on this sweater. Oh my god, I would not have the patience. I think I'm a lot more impatient than my mom is. But it's really cute. And my daughter already tried it on and it fits really well. I just had to kind of roll up the sleeves a little because she's not as big as this sweater is. A little bit bigger on her, but that's great because it will last longer and hopefully it will last through the rest of the year. So yeah, so cute. And it's made with Holst yarn, super soft, Danish yarn, Shetland wool. It's very nice. And the other sweater that my mom made is actually a jacket, and it looks like this. It's so beautiful. It's like no, it has this, I don't know what the stitch is. I think it's like a seed stitch maybe, something like that. I would have to ask my mom what the specific stitch was, but it's very, it makes this really dense fabric, and you can maybe see it a little bit better at the edges when there's two colors. She used my yarn, Wilderness Baby Soft yarn, for this, and she used the true colors. I have 3 colors in total. It's just a small batch yarn for now. And she did these cute horses at the bottom. at first they looked a little bit more traditional, but then I suggested to make them look like Dala horses, the Swedish, folk style. The horses that are typically wooden, which I love, and I have this little painting that I did of a Dala horse, and I just thought it would be really cute if Sofie had a sweater with Dala horses. And yeah, my mom did such a great job. She didn't have enough time to finish it, so I'm gonna finish some of the details instead of her. So I'm gonna probably like sew a little button at the top and do like a little crochet hook, a chain, not a crochet hook. I will crochet a chain to kind of do like a little loop for the button, so that if it falls open too much, then it can be buttoned up. But I think it's a great design. I love it. And in the back, doesn't have like a big pattern at the back, but I think it's nice and elegant, and it's super warm. It will be a great jacket for the winter season. And yeah, I can't wait to actually wash it and block it and see how it kind of opens up. And yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say. I was thinking about maybe trying to write down this pattern. I think I would do some modifications, because the way my mom did it was, I would not have the patience to do it that way, because she did this, the construction is interesting. I think she started at the sleeves, and then she kind of went like this, right? And then at the front she made another, I think she like cast it on some stitches here, and then she went like sideways again, but that made it a bit more difficult to calculate the stitches, and she had to go back and forth a lot to redo the part. I think that what I would do is probably try to do top down raglan sweater and do this probably vertically as well, not horizontally, but I don't know if I will actually do it, because I don't like making something again that's already made, but I do like the Dala horse pattern a lot, so I might kind of appropriate it. Is it the word? Reuse it for a different pattern for Sofie. Maybe in a different color. Try red color, because Swedish Dala horses are typically red, so I think that would be really cute. Yeah. And I can show you a few samples that my mom also made with the yarn. It's a little swatches, which I think are interesting. This makes a really beautiful texture with the 3 colors, which I thought was really cool. I think it uses kind of like a slip stitch. And also this one. I think that the colors match quite well, which I'm really happy about. So yeah, I would like to see more projects with this yarn. And the next thing I wanted to talk about was my current knitting whips. Yeah, so currently I am working on a shawl sample. It's a design that I already made. Can't really show it to you that well, because it's now on my needles in an awkward spot, but I can just show you kind of briefly. It's a crescent shawl. It's called Lady of the Lake, and I'm knitting with a variegated yarn by Oysters and Pearls in DK weight, and the design was originally published in By Hand Serial, lookbook number 14, Hudson Valley. It's been a while, a couple of years now, but so the design looks like this. Hopefully you can see it. Yes, it's gonna have these kind of this pattern that was inspired by upstate New York lakes and rivers, so it's kind of like a water flowing pattern. And I'm doing some modification as I'm knitting this again, and the reason why I'm knitting this is because I don't have the original sample, because I had to send it to the publisher, so no wait, that's not right. The reason why I'm knitting this again is because I gave the sample to my sister-in-law. That's why I don't have the sample. Yeah, I had to send it to the publisher, but then they sent it back after a while, so that was actually really nice of them, because I think sometimes the publishers keep the sample. So the modification that I'm doing is I am doing the increases in this portion a little bit differently. I will be working with this braid, expanding it and including like an extra pattern in there. So I will definitely show you the result when it's done. So that's one whip, and then I have this other whip which is a design by Fiber Tales. It's the Morel Sweater, and I got pretty far into the body portion now, separated for the sleeves, but I'm not knitting on this as much now because I think it might be too big, but I am still debating whether it's supposed to be that way. And what I need to do is really to try it on and see if I like it, which I didn't do yet, but I'm quite happy with the pattern. It's a nice pattern, it's a beautiful yarn, but it's probably gonna take me a while to finish it. So I just wanted to give you a brief update about that one, and then some books that I'm reading right now. And if you see me looking down, it's because I have my notebook here and I have some notes so that I don't get lost in my own thoughts. So the books that I'm reading right now that are knitting or fiber arts related. So this one, it's called Fiber Shed. You may have already heard about this one. I've heard about it from, I believe, Hannah Thiessen Howard shared a post about this book. And then I think also on a knitting podcast by Haley at Knit Weekend, I think she also mentioned it. Maybe, I'm not sure. But it's really interesting and eye-opening. Yeah, so it's about growing the movement of farmers, fashion activists, and makers for a new textile economy. I believe it was published in 2019, and I'm not that far into the book, but it's already really interesting, and I'm learning a lot new facts. This book goes into details about how some of the contents of fabrics how it can have negative impact on your health, like what goes into creating these mass-produced garments in countries like Cambodia or India, and how the US fashion industry has changed over the last 30 years or so, how it went from like a pretty high percentage of clothes that are being purchased here that were US made to like a very tiny percentage nowadays. I think it was like single-digit percent that's right now being purchased that's US made. So it went from like, I don't know, I'm guessing now it was like from 50% to like 4% or something like that. I can't exactly remember when it was mentioned, but it was like a huge difference since the 90s that this changed. And this book goes into details about the history of fashion, fast fashion, and the negative impacts it has on the environment, on people, and the local scene, and what is fiber shed, right? So the way I understand this term is that it's your local fiber scene, basically. So it could be the farmers, it could be the local mill, it could be the knitters, the crocheters, the weavers. It could be your local scouring facility, which I know there's very few in the US. And it's interesting because very recently a new scouring facility was opened locally in, I believe, Mechanicsville, New York. So that's great news for my local fiber shed, and I think US fashion in general. And I think that, yeah, my fiber shed is awesome. I am so grateful for the local fiber scene in upstate New York, because there's just so much in here. There's so many great festivals that, you know, really help with supporting the local artists and farmers. Like Rhinebeck, everybody knows Rhinebeck, Sheep and Wool Festival. But there's also Adirondack Festival that takes place in Greenwich in September every year. And there's a lot more, I'm sure. But I'm just naming two that I probably know the most. And yes, I didn't get that far into this book, but I would recommend it because I think that it's kind of a required, not required, but highly recommended reading for anyone who wants to be more conscious of fashion industry and what they're buying and what are the impacts of your choices and everybody's choices, right? It's not just you. And I know that like one person can't make a lot of difference, but I think that, yeah, if you can spread the word and more people kind of learn these facts and maybe change their behavior, then it can lead to a bigger change. And I personally want to stay away from purchasing more yarns from abroad. I live in the US, so I really want to stick to the more local yarns, which I've been kind of doing, but sometimes I stray from that path and I go and purchase Isaiah, which I really like, or, you know, Hostgarn, but that one I actually purchased a long time ago in Europe. But I feel like when you travel and you go somewhere and you purchase something locally, then I don't really see any like reason why that would be wrong. But to have it maybe shipped from overseas, I could see that that might not be the best in terms of, well, first of all, there's all the fuel that's being used, right? But there's also the fact that you're supporting someone who's not, who isn't local to you, so you're not really supporting your local scene. And I almost feel like it's almost like globalization, right? Because if you don't support your local artist, then everybody kind of does the same thing. Everybody kind of buys the same yarns, purchases the same patterns, and what it leads to is essentially globalization of knitting. I don't know if I can say that, but in my mind it's, and I feel like globalization is so boring. Like, I remember when I was a little kid and I would travel somewhere, and the most exciting thing was that I could see something different and I could get local goodies and local souvenirs. But now when you go somewhere, even on the other side of the world, you see that, like, a lot of the times you see the same things, you know? And it's the same with yarns. So just food for thought, right? Yeah. And I don't mean to criticize anyone. So I also forgot to mention who the author of Fiber Shed is. It's Rebecca Burgess with Courtney White. In case you wanted to look this up. I got this at Amazon. And the other two books that I'm reading right now, the first one is called Living Your Yoga. It's not knitting related, but it's really interesting if you are struggling with anxiety and depression and you're looking for some ways to, I would say, I guess, go beyond your ego. I don't know. Learn how to enjoy the moment and gain a different perspective on a lot of things. So yeah, if you're like me and you're looking for something spiritual in your life, and it doesn't have to be religion, right? It can be just having faith in what you have, then I would recommend this book. And it's by Judith Hanson Lasseter, PhD, PT. Lots of titles there. Yeah, it's great. And then I'm also reading a book, and I have to look what's the original name because I'm reading it in Czech. So the original name is The French Chateau Dream, and it's by Julie Kaplan, released in 2023. This is a Czech version which has this beautiful cover, and this is a light reading experience for anyone who likes, it's called Hygge novels, so cozy, enjoyable, romantic reading. Yeah, it's great. Julie Kaplan's books are always very relaxing, funny. They typically talk a lot about slow cooking, slow food. So if you enjoy that kind of thing, this is great summer reading. So just wanted to mention that. And back to knitting. I also recently purchased this book by Erica Knight. By recently, I mean in April when I visited Virginia. I saw this in Barnes and Noble, and I couldn't resist because the sweaters, they're just gorgeous, and it's a great inspiration, and there's a lot of texture, which I don't know if you noticed, but I'm a big fan of texture. A lot of my designs are all about the little stitch pattern, the texture. Even my coffee cup is has an interesting texture to it. I actually wanted to make a sweater looking like this cup at some point, but I never got to it because I just have too many ideas and too little time. But this book is gorgeous. Just a little sneak peek into it. So she talks about wool. There's quite a bit of like useful information in the beginning about substituting yarns and equipment you need, and a lot of information about gauge, which I want to read through as well, and size, fit, and ease. Erica Knight is really interesting, fascinating actually. I watched an interview with Erica Knight on Fruity Knitting, which is another knitting podcast. You might already know it, but there's an episode with Erica Knight, and I really highly recommend it. It's about a lot about like her background in the fashion industry in Britain, which is really interesting. I'm not gonna tell you too much about it. Go and watch it when you have the time. And I just want to show you some of the designs that I really like in this book. They really, I feel like she really focuses on the shape as much as the texture. The shape is always really intriguing. Come on, camera, focus. Yes, there we go. I love how this is shaped. And I think looks like it has brioche stitch. And the back side, there you go. Can see that interesting shape? I find that fascinating. And there's actually a jumper for men, which I'd like to make for my husband, don't tell him. It's a very classy jumper. Again, the texture is really, really cool. I love it, and I think it's complementing, I don't know how to say it. And then some of the more complicated designs. I'm not sure how complicated it is when it comes to knitting, but this is just really interesting how she like puts the different yarn textures together, and the way it's shaped. It's asymmetrical, which I think she mentioned in the interview, that she likes working asymmetrical shapes into her knitting. And there's a lot of beautiful photographs of her inspiration from nature. This is divided into several chapters. This one is country, then there's also like city, and then the sea. And just to show you another one that I really liked, this jumper. Again, there's kind of like an asymmetrical shape to this. Yeah. Just wish I had more time to do more knitting. Yeah. But let's move on from this one. Another book I wanted to show you is my most favorite knitting book that probably had the most impact on me, and it's because up until then, which was sometime around 2017, I don't think that I've seen that many modern and elegant designs. It's probably because I just didn't have a lot of exposure to it, and back then it wasn't so common to order from abroad, especially not in the Czech Republic. So this book is called ALJ, Åse Lund Jensen, Danish knitwear designer. It's by Isaer. I think I mentioned Isaer several times in my podcasts. It is my most favorite, I guess you could say, knitting brand, because they make yarn, and there's also the designer duo of the mother and the daughter, Ariane and Helga. And before that, the male was owned by Åse Lund Jensen. And this book was an homage to Åse. Please forgive me if I pronounce it wrong. And there are some like amazing designs in this book that really got me into knitting. I was knitting from a young age, but around 2017, when I saw this book, I really got into knitting. Probably because of this book, because it's just so gorgeous, and I've never really seen this kind of designs before. And the type of photography that they're using is just very elegant, and I basically wanted to knit every single design from this book. They're all amazing. There's some home accessories as well, and also shawls, but just wanted to show you even the home accessories. This is simple, but it's just elegant and Scandinavian style, which I'm a big fan of. I'm definitely influenced by. And this sweater, again, gorgeous. And the texture, it's actually stranded color work, but it looks, it looks like it's texture, right? It's like 3D, it's like coming out almost of the picture, which is just amazing. And yeah, this is another picture of the sweater that I showed you earlier in a different colorway. And this is when my battery ran out. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. And I will insert this video of me trying on the Fairbloom cardigan for you. I'm also going to show you a few videos I made in the Adirondacks, which are the mountains that I live nearby, near Lake George, New York. And then also some videos from my trip to Virginia, which took place in April. And yeah, hope you enjoyed my podcast, and maybe I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.